Last year, I interviewed 150 intermediate level Chinese learners, and only 3 of them had enough passive vocabulary and knew how to gain it. I was so shocked that 99% of the learners out there didn't know how to gain it, so that's why they didn't understand what native Chinese speakers say. So here, I want to explain to you the importance of passive vocabulary, what you should learn, and how to gain thousands of passive vocabulary in just a few months. So just to briefly introduce myself, I am Zhifei, the founder of Xiaogua Chinese. I am an experienced Chinese fluency coach, a neurolinguist, and a polyglot. I help Chinese learners reach conversational fluency. In this video, I will follow this structure. What is passive vocabulary? Why is it important? Why HSK system is setting you up for failure in terms of vocabulary gaining, step-by-step explanation on how to gain 1,000 passive vocabulary in a month. You can skip parts that you already know, but if you can give it a little bit of patience and watch the whole thing, I promise your perspective on vocabulary gaining will be completely changed. And this will help you understand fundamentally why you cannot understand what native Chinese speaker says to you. What is passive vocabulary? So passive vocabulary is words that a person understands when listening or reading them, but are not using these words in their speech or writing. In this video, I'll focus on passive vocabulary when listening. Your passive vocabulary size can either enable or limit your understanding of what a Chinese speaker says to you. Passive vocabulary is important because when you interact with a native Chinese speaker, you need to have enough knowledge of the words that they're using to be able to understand them. If you think that you studied HSK 4 or 5 and that's enough for you to understand native speakers, most likely the reality is going to disappoint you. You are going to see why when you understand all the points that I'm about to explain to you. You need at least 4,000 passive vocabulary in Chinese to call yourself fluent. So let's see, if you follow the HSK system, let's say HSK 4, for example, this is your vocabulary size. If you master every single word that you've ever learned when you have HSK 4, your vocabulary size is 1,200, and it's not nearly close to 4,000. If you have HSK 5 and you master every single word that you've ever learned, your vocabulary size is 2,500, and it's just a little bit more than half than 4,000, which is the level to be fluent and understand what native speaker says to you. So how to gain passive vocabulary in Chinese? There's so many ways, but there was one way that helped myself gain 4,000 passive vocabulary in Spanish in 2 months, and also helped a ton of my intermediate level Chinese students pass that 4,000 passive vocabulary threshold in a matter of months. So I'll focus on presenting you this method. First of all, you need the 4,000 most frequently used Chinese vocabulary. And don't just follow words in HSK word list or words that you find in random app, or just download whatever vocabulary list from random website that you're not even sure if it's gonna help you. If you're not sure where you can find the material, I have listed the resources that I have or I know in the description, and you can check it out if to see if you can find something that is helpful for you. The second thing is a learning plan and a goal. Let's talk about goal first. Let's say you need to gain passive vocabulary, for example, 2,000 passive vocabulary, and then you set a weekly learning goal. I recommend gaining 100 to 200 new words per week. So to reach that 2,000 passive vocabulary gain goal, you are going to need roughly 2.5 months. Considering you also need to review the words, and that can take more time, you can also extend the learning period a little bit longer. I recommend you to go over your list or flashcards 3 to 5 times a week, around 20 minutes each time. If you cannot set aside an hour per day for your Chinese learning, it's fine. Just setting aside 15 to 20 minutes for that passive vocabulary gain can already make a difference in your Chinese fluency. 3. How to get all these words into your long-term memory. This is probably a question that you have in mind already, and this is also the most important part of this video. So I have 4 keywords: repetition, speed, audio, and consistency. So this is super important. You need about 13 times of repetition for a word to enter your long-term memory. You can consider reviewing your words, learning your words using spaced repetition. If you are not sure what it is, you can Google it to have an idea. Many flashcard apps use this spaced repetition system, but don't get obsessed with it. I would say the one single most important rule for this learning process is that you always try to review the words that you recently learned. According to human beings' forgetting curve, so when we learn a new thing, the memory of this new thing drastically drop right after we learn it. So the rule is, the more recently you learn a word, the more frequently you should review this word. The second thing is your speed. Let's say you want to learn 50 words today, and you open your flashcards and you learn a word, you learn the pinyin, the character, the word in the context, and an example sentence, right? So you might end up spending 1 to 2 minutes in a word. So to learn 50 new words, you actually end up spending like more than an hour. In this case, your efficiency is very low. So you might tell me, like, what are you saying? Like, the context is super important. I love learning a word in a context. It's so helpful. How am I not going to try to recognize the characters and people write in characters? How am I going to understand them in reading? I'm not saying that you're wrong. I think you're absolutely right. But right now we are talking about passive vocabulary gaining. You're not learning to use them. You're learning to recognize them when you listen to them. So you actually only need to spend a few seconds in a word and quickly go through all your flashcards, just like this. So now I'm with my flashcards. I can show you the speed that I recommend you to have to gain passive vocabulary fast. So this would be something that I do. 误会 misunderstanding. 追求 pursue, to go for. 接受 this word I don't know. To accept, okay. 接受现实 to accept the reality. 接受挑战 to accept the challenge. So for this learning process, it's actually really helpful if you time yourself. For example, you have 50 words to learn and you time yourself, you need 30 minutes to finish learning the 50 words. So next time when you learn 50 words, you time yourself 25. The next time, 20 minutes. Just try to give yourself a time pressure so that you can actually finish learning them fast. I know that you might be wondering, like, am I really gonna remember these words learning them this fast? And I know that it's a very counterintuitive process. So really you need to trust your brain power. So it's not the time that you spend with this word that helps. It's really the repetition that counts. With enough repetition, it's gonna get into your long-term memory. The third keyword is audio. As you can see, when I was learning with my flashcards, I was paying attention, I was playing the audio. I wasn't even paying much attention to the characters. So this is a simulation of how you interact in real life. When you speak to someone, you listen to them, right? When you speak to someone, you don't type down the text and show them the characters of the words that you say and ask them to read characters, right? So it's the audio input that is directly connected to how well you understand when listening to a Chinese speaker. If you're wondering, like, my flashcards don't have audio, or I'm just learning a vocabulary list on a PDF. So it's totally fine if you don't have audio, but you can just read them out loud yourself instead. So the fourth keyword is consistency. I think it's very, very easy to understand. It means you need to study and review regularly, but it's something extremely difficult to do. So it's the action that counts, right? If you just learn when you have motivation, and then when you don't feel like it, you just forget about it, and you pick them back in a month or two, you're not gonna learn it. You're not gonna gain thousands of passive vocabulary in matter of months. You're not gonna have real progress. You're gonna just keep learning and keep forgetting. So that's why there's so many learners that I've met and I've talked to, and they tell me, like, you know what, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from my textbooks, an app, on YouTube, and so many resources, right? But I actually just forget them. I don't know, like, how to memorize them and how to get them into my long-term memory. So using this method and use it consistently is your action, your consistency. That's the game changer. Thank you so much for watching this video. This is actually the first video that I filmed about the scientific method to learn Chinese. If you find it helpful, please like it, comment on it, so that I know that, oh, this is something that people find helpful, this is something that people want and need to see, and I can make more similar videos for you. And I'm also making some more free resources for you, just to help more Chinese learners reach conversational fluency within months. If you think that it could be something that benefits you, you can check out the resources that I put in my description box. This is Zhifei from Xiaogua Chinese. I'm helping people reach conversational fluency with the most scientific learning methods. See you next one.